Welcome. You're listening to episode 26 of Pause and Play with Dr. J, the Preventive Vet podcast. On today's show, we talk about some of the many benefits of senior pet adoption. If you're thinking about bringing a new furry family member into your home, or even thinking about foster opportunities, you may be surprised at how well a senior pet will fit into your lifestyle, maybe even more so than a puppy. And don't forget to visit our store at shop.preventivevet.com to purchase books to keep your dogs and cats happy, healthy, and safe. And now, let's start the show. Welcome back to another episode of Pause and Play with Dr. J and Cathy.
Hey.
I'm your co-host, Mia. Yeah, we've got Dr. J and Cathy back here with us for another episode. And what a great episode that we have planned for you today. We actually got a great topic suggestion from our listener, Julie, and actually another one of our listeners, Linda, wrote in with a similar suggestion that we'll get to tackling very soon. But it came at a great time because we've been wanting to create a senior series of podcasts. And so Julie wrote in and asked us to talk about some of the benefits of senior pet adoption. I, for one, have a senior pet myself, although I tell him he has to be a puppy forever. Dr. J, I know that you've got...
Yeah, my Wendy is a senior. She's officially a senior.
And Cathy, Sookie's not, I guess now we can just jump right into it. Sookie is how old?
She's 9.
Okay.
And I remember that when I went to the vet a couple of years ago, they were like, oh, well, now she's a senior. And I was like, I'm sorry, what?
Right, yeah. No, she isn't.
So, yeah, it's kind of surprising to kind of find out at what age, dogs and cats are considered seniors and when their health starts to change, their behavior starts to change and things like that.
Dr. J, what I guess would what would a makeup of a senior be for a dog and for a cat? Are they different even?
They are, and actually even dogs are different. Some dogs are different than other dogs. The senior designation frequently is associated with or dependent on the size of the dog as well. So small breed dogs like Chihuahuas and whatnot will become seniors later, in life than, say, like a Bernese Mountain Dog or an Irish Wolfhound or something like that, one of the giant, or like a giant breed dog. So, on average, seniors kind of, small breed dogs like Chihuahuas and whatnot, you start thinking about them as seniors at kind of like 10-ish, 10 to 12. Giant breed dogs, kind of 6, 7. And then everybody else in between is probably more around kind of 7, 8, give or take, 7, 8, 9, depending. Whereas cats, we start to really consider senior around kind of, 12, 13-ish. And then a lot of people have heard the term like geriatric pet. But that really, in my mind, tends to go more towards their health. Like once they start having more health and mobility issues, then we start considering them more geriatric as opposed to necessarily the number.
I prefer the term super senior.
Super senior, I like it. Golden girl, golden guy.
Yes.
I
always prefer
age
golden girl
is just
or
a
golden
number.
guy.
Goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Age is just a number. And very importantly, as we say in the vet profession, age is not a disease. And that is really important for a lot of people to realize.
Important.
Because a lot of people say, oh, like they died of old age, or, I don't want to, have them put under anesthesia because they're old. Like old is relative. Age is just a number. I've certainly met in my clinical practice, quote unquote, senior dogs that are, potentially significantly healthier than some adult dogs, and the same with cats. So age is not a disease. Older, senior dogs and cats can live amazing, full, rich, comfortable, healthy lives, especially if you work closely with your veterinarian to get them that way or keep them that way.
Right. Like my last dog, he was 16 when he ended up, he herniated his back and the recovery was tough because of his age. But before that, all the way up to 16, he wasn't acting super old. So definitely just depends. Quality of life determines so much too.
Yeah, very much so.
Absolutely. So, I guess that's such a great point when it comes to adopting senior dogs and senior cats, because I think a lot of people just automatically assume that senior means, like, just as you were saying, and I had never heard it that way, Dr. J. So thank you for bringing it up, that age is not a health issue. Age is
Not
not
a disease, yeah.
a disease. I mean, heck, you look at some of the mall walkers, they're doing better than me,
Yeah, you got to get out of their way or you get bowled over.
Yeah, exactly. So, so I guess that's one thing, I guess, to kind of take some of the fear away. I actually spoke with Julie the other day, who suggested this topic, because I wanted to, it obviously was very important to her, and I wanted to get more of a feeling for why it was so important to her. And she rescues senior dachshunds, and she worked a lot of times in high kill shelter situations, and just saw all of these senior dogs getting passed up. And especially, she said, with dachshunds, a lot of these dogs actually are coming from homes of senior humans who have passed, and that's actually one of the reasons that there's a great need for senior adoption.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is heartbreaking, but it also just is. It's another thing to hammer home that it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with them. They just need
Right.
a new home to live out the rest of their lives in.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's something to
Well,
think about
and
too, where those dogs had a life before, and it's almost more stressful for them to be in a shelter than, say, a young puppy who is going to be super popular and adopted. And if someone wants to do a lot of, help out rescuing dogs, those dogs are in really need of someone who's willing to step in and help them for the last couple of years of their life.
Right.
Yeah. And they've got a lot to bring. They've still got a ton to contribute, and a lot of still a lot of love to give. And I mean, really, for people, a puppy isn't right for everyone. A kitten isn't right for everyone. Even just like a middle-aged adult dog or cat isn't necessarily right. For some people, a senior pet is really the ideal match. Maybe if you live in an apartment and so there's not a lot of like great indoor exercise opportunities, or you don't want to go through puppy training and potty training in an apartment when you live on the 13th floor, or if maybe you don't get out and do a ton of exercise. Again, maybe a senior pet who still needs exercise, but maybe not as much as a puppy and is ideally already potty trained. Maybe they are the perfect match for you and your family. So I would encourage people not to go into the shelter, or rescue environment thinking we got to get a puppy, or we've got to get a kitten, or we've got to get just an adult. Like we're not going to go senior. Keep seniors on your possible scorecard, because it might just be the perfect match.
Yeah, it's all about like matching that lifestyle up, because puppies,
Yeah.
a lot of work. Senior dogs,
A lot of work.
senior dogs can be a lot of work depending on the behaviors and things they come with, but you usually have
Yeah.
a better idea of what those behaviors are going to be. So versus a
without
puppy.
a doubt. And also I would even say, as you well know, Cathy, obviously, this whole idea of you can't teach an old dog new tricks, you 100% can in most of the situations. So, even if a senior dog has a behavior that's not what necessarily is ideal for you, frequently, and correct me if I'm wrong, Cathy, but frequently people can retrain some of that stuff and help to redirect those behaviors and make the fit even better.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. And knowing ahead of time is really what it's all about there. If you can just set them up for success, it's a lot easier if you already know kind of what issues they might be dealing with, if they're fearful of certain things, and you already know that, because a lot of shelters are doing a great job nowadays with working with their fosters that might have these dogs, and helping the adopters set the dog up where, okay, we know this dog is fearful of other dogs. So first off, we're not going to adopt it out to a home with other dogs, and then we're going to teach you how to work on that with this dog too. Versus a young puppy,
Right.
you might not know if, as they grow
Yeah.
up, are they going to develop those things? And so you're a little less prepared in a way.
Yeah. Well, and to that point as well, and continuing on that of like knowing what you're getting, size frequently is an issue as well. I mean, it's not uncommon for people to get a puppy, thinking, okay, it's a little, it's a terrier spaniel mix or whatever. And you're thinking, okay, kind of like 20, 30 pounds. And then all of a sudden you realize, well, actually there's Bernese Mountain Dog in there as well. And now they're 60, 70 pounds. When you get a senior, they're pretty much full grown. So there probably won't be too many surprises in that respect.
I'm still waiting for my final growth spurt over here.
Yeah, right. Well, wait till your senior years, Mia.
I just
You'll
turned
get there.
40, so it's definitely I've got some time for sure. But you made great points about like the whole lifestyle, because it's been so long since I've had a puppy, and Marshall, I rescued him when he was already 9 months old. So a lot of things I wasn't there for, but we have a couple of puppies in the office now, and oh my God, that puppy energy is insane and
nonstop, right?
Just nonstop. There is just pee and poop constantly. Thankfully, we know, thanks to your article, Jason, we know how to clean up the pee and poop things properly.
But let's not paint the picture that the office up in Seattle is.
Oh no, it's very clean. It's
completely
very clean,
soiled.
Although our senior
No.
dog Daisy is definitely contributing to.
Yes, exactly.
It's true. We've got like a very bizarre office Olympics kind of thing to see who can catch the poop before it hits the floor first. But so there's that to do. But at least we can kind of tell when that's about to happen with our senior. But but seriously, the energy levels. I mean, Marshall is still a pretty active senior, and he still loves to play, but it is nowhere near the puppy energy. And I think that it's really easy to forget that, or even just like dismiss that when you're going to get a dog. So like really pay attention to what you're willing to, what you can put up with, what you can work with when you are about to, bring a new dog or puppy into your home.
Right. And I think that, it kind of goes back to the lifestyle matching where, if you're a big active hiker or, you run longer distances, you want to make sure you're adopting a dog that matches that. But if you're someone like me who doesn't run, then it is a little bit easier to get a dog who doesn't need as much to burn that energy. Who can just meander around the neighborhood with me rather than needing, 5-6 miles of a run. And then also thinking about, how is your home set up and what a senior dog needs in a home setup, So Jason mentioned earlier, if you're in an apartment and things like that, an older dog can be a lot easier to provide the right kind of environment for.
To bring it a little bit back to some of the medical issues and things with seniors, a lot of people can think of that as being a negative if somebody is going into a situation where they know that let's say they fall in love with a senior that has an issue, that still I think shouldn't deter people. Like I think once, right, Jason, like it's like with any animal, once you kind of know what and again knowing ahead of time kind of what you're getting into can be really important, but it's giving the treatment.
Well, and honestly, a lot of the conditions that older dogs get, whether it be an underactive thyroid like hypothyroidism or diabetes or arthritis, a lot of these conditions are really quite manageable. So knowing about them beforehand, and then again working with your veterinarian and seeing if that's a good fit. Like, if you go to the shelter and you live in a home that's got 4 levels and it's wood floors all over the place. Well, yeah, maybe a senior dog with arthritis isn't the best match for you. I mean, there are totally things that people can do in terms of putting on, stair treads and runners and having them wear
If you've
boots
got a
and stuff.
4-level home, I think you can probably afford to put in some good stuff for traction for your animals.
Yeah, totally. But it is going to introduce another, potential complication. But maybe a senior Chihuahua that you can carry up and down the stairs as opposed to a senior, Irish Wolfhound or Lab or, Standard Poodle or whatever. Like, so just knowing what your situation is, and there might be variants of the options for you that would help. But knowing what you're getting into medically and then working with your vet to manage that as best as possible, a lot of these things are just that. They're manageable. And so they really shouldn't rule out that dog from your home, because it will be nicer for the dog to be receiving that care in your home and with the family and out of the shelter environment. So I think that's something to consider for people.
Right.
Now, for some people, managing those medical issues, either financially or logistically, doesn't work. So that's a realization that's good to know beforehand. But maybe you get a senior that doesn't have medical issues, or maybe for that person, an adult dog is better, because puppies can come with a lot of their own costs and logistical, issues. So I think just kind of being honest with yourself and knowing what you're able to do from your, in your home financially, logistically. And I think for a lot of people, when they really kind of do that calculus in their head, senior pets can work out really well.
Right. Well, and like when I worked at the shelter, we had a couple adopters who came in and asked for a senior dog they were like, hey, do you have a dog available that has diabetes? We were like, well, actually, we do. Why are you asking? Because weird. And they said, our last dog that we had that passed away a little bit ago had diabetes. We are equipped to deal with that medical condition. And we know that those dogs are harder to find homes for. So we want
That's
to
awesome.
offer that up. So it's something that if you have experience with a certain medical condition, your home is already set up for it, and you can provide that care, you're familiar with it, then that's a great opportunity to really go in and help, really help a dog out,
Yeah. I mean, that's fantastic. And being familiar with it both from another dog or cat standpoint, or even yourself. I mean, obviously people get diabetes too. I mean, there's, again, it's the right match.
Right.
And so if someone's got, diabetes, maybe it's nice for them to get a dog with diabetes because they know about the condition. I mean, it's different in dogs slightly than it is in people, but still there's some connection there. And I just think that there's so many options for people when they go in, and I would just encourage people to at least consider senior dogs and cats.
Yeah, there's something about having a senior animal that's just, it makes my heart full.
Yeah. I mean, they're great for like hanging on the couch and binge watching your favorite show, or, for going for more leisurely strolls.
Yes.
Like if that's your jam, that's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, there really is an option for everyone. So I would really, and like all of this has got me, of course, thinking about going back out there. I need to maybe pump my brakes and wait a little bit. For people like myself that are really, really sensitive, even just thinking about like it's hard for me to think about Marshall being even considered a senior, but
Yeah.
they can have a full, rich life, and you can be a part of that. They can't if they're just stuck in a shelter.
Right.
Well, and to Cathy's point, about the people that came in and asked about a diabetic dog, like that's fantastic. Like you can make a huge difference, if it's the right fit for you, and knowing that there's people out there that are doing that, specifically searching out, quote unquote special needs dogs, they're just special dogs. They're special cats. Yeah, they have needs, but so do, puppies and adult dogs and people, So it's great knowing that there are people out there specifically looking to adopt senior pets, because it's wonderful to get them out of shelters and into homes to spend the rest of their days, which in many instances are several days, and several really good quality days with a human family.
Yeah, and I mean, if any of our listeners out there are thinking, hey, I'm in a good spot to adopt a senior dog or a senior cat, there are specific rescues and shelters and groups that work with that group of animals. So here in the Seattle area, we have Old Dog Haven, which is a great organization, but there's tons out there. So I would say if anyone's listening and thinking, I think I might want to adopt a senior dog, go search out those organizations. Or cat, yes. But go search those
Cat's
organizations.
always getting the short end of the stick.
Always. Sorry. I forget. I forget they're around.
Because they're so quiet and just sleeping.
Exactly.
They're easy to
Unlike my
forget.
dog, who always lets me know she's here.
For those of you listening, if this has inspired you to adopt a senior pet, or if you already have a senior pet adoption story that you would like to share with us, we would love to hear it. You can, of course, post in the comments for this podcast episode, or you can hit us up via email at pauseandplay@preventivevet.com. Thanks again for listening. Dr. J, Cathy, thank you so much for being here with me, and we'll be back with another podcast soon. Thanks for listening. If you've got a question for Dr. J that you want him to answer on an upcoming show, head over to preventivevet.com/pauseandplay and fill out our form. You'll also find our podcast archive, as well as links to everything that we discuss on the shows. While you're there, sign up for our newsletter, which includes tips, alerts, and we even made sure to include some cuteness. It's a treat delivered to your inbox every other week. You can subscribe to Pause and Play with Dr. J on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and iHeartRadio. We'll talk to you again soon.